Hello everyone, lovely to see you again this week. It's great to be here with you and I hope that you're doing okay. This week we're going to carry on thinking about our theme that we've been talking about for the last few weeks, and I hope by now that you know that the theme is trust. And if you remember, that last few weeks we've been thinking about what it means to trust God and to trust our parents and to trust other people. And we've also thought about how trust happens and how trust gets broken by sometimes the things that we do. And breaking promises is a good example of how trust gets broken. But trust is a really, really important thing for us. And I thought today we would think about someone particular who had to learn to trust. And we'll hear about that in a moment. But I wonder if any of you know what this is. Can you see it? It's got little doors on it, numbered doors. And I'm guessing that most of you know that this is an advent calendar. And I'm betting that most of you have got an advent calendar at home. And I'm betting that most of your advent calendars are full of chocolates. And I love chocolate. And this particular advent calendar is bought for our doggies. It's a special type of advent calendar. And inside each window is a little doggy treat. Now it's important to remember that dogs can't eat chocolate, so whatever you do, don't get giving your pets chocolate because it can make them poorly. But these are special treats that are made specially for doggies. So Advent, and we're in the season of Advent. Even though, if you're watching this film today, on Monday, you haven't yet opened your Advent calendars because it's Tuesday is the 1st, and that's the day that we normally open number 1. But you know, in the church's calendar, Advent started yesterday on Sunday the 29th. And that's when we start thinking about what Advent is. And Advent is really just a countdown. It's a time to prepare for something special that's coming. And I'm guessing that you know that that's something special that's coming is Christmas. And Christmas is the time when we think about how much God loves us, where we give one another presents and we spend time with one another. Although this year it might be very different. We might not be spending as much time together, but we think about all the people that are important to us. We also think about the people that don't have the things that we have as well. And we think about the most precious gift. The reason for Christmas in the first place is because Jesus was born in that stable in Bethlehem. And I thought, being as we're in Advent and we're thinking about trust and we're thinking about that Christmas story, we'd think a little bit about that Christmas story and about somebody in that story who had to learn to trust. So I'm going to shuffle this side a little bit because you need to see more of my screen. So let me tell you this story, which I guess some of you will already be familiar with. One day, there was a lady, a young woman, whose name was Mary. And Mary lived in a town called Nazareth, which is in a place called Galilee. Mary was just an ordinary young woman, really a girl. But she was already engaged to be married. So at some point she was going to get married to a man. And the man's name was, anybody know? The man's name was Joseph. Anyway, it must have been just an ordinary day for Mary. Here she was, just busy doing her things, perhaps getting some water, perhaps washing some clothes, perhaps cooking some food, or maybe just doing some general things that she did each and every day. Ordinary day, but little did she know it was going to be an extraordinary day. Because, lo and behold, whoa! An angel was sent from God. And this angel's name was, anybody know the name of the angel? The name of the angel was Gabriel. And Gabriel was sent by God with a message. So he got a message to deliver to Mary. Mary must have been scared out of her skin, because how often do you or I see an angel? Never, probably. But all of a sudden, there was this angel flying around in the air just above her. She was scared out of her mind. But this was a nice angel, and the angel spoke softly to Mary and said, "Mary, hello. My name is Gabriel, and I've been sent from God. And God has sent me with a message for you." Mary was a bit puzzled. Why on earth would God be sending an angel to her? And what might this message be that was so important that he had to send one of his angels to tell her? Anyway, the angel went on to explain to Mary that she was going to have a baby. Mary was even more puzzled, because even though she was engaged to Joseph, they hadn't yet been married and they weren't living together. So she wondered how this could be possible, and she asked the angel, "How can this be? How's this going to happen?" And the angel said, "Don't worry, Mary. This baby is going to be like no baby that's ever been born before, because this baby is going to be the Son of God." Mary must have been even more puzzled. But Gabriel told her not to worry. And there was something in the way that Gabriel spoke that reassured Mary. And she knew that even though things were a bit scary, she knew that things were going to be okay. And she put her trust in God and in his angel and the message that the angel gave. And she said some wonderful words. She said, "I am God's servant. Let it happen just like you have said." And then the angel left her, and Mary was left on her own to wonder about what this special baby was going to be all about. So I hope you enjoyed that story. I guess some of you will have known that story, because it's a story that we hear every year at this time of year in Advent leading up to Christmas. And I wonder, what might it have been like for Mary to have firstly seen the angel, and then secondly speak with the angel, and then thirdly to hear the message that she was going to have God's son. She was going to have a baby, and it was going to be God's own son. What might it have been like? Well, maybe you can just pause. Maybe if I pause, you might want to put your hands up and give some of your answers to your teachers. What might it have been like? What might Mary have felt like? And I hope you've got some answers. And I think she would have been scared, worried, She might have been maybe excited at this wonderful news. She was probably worried about what Joseph was going to say, probably worried about what the people that she lived with were going to say or think, and probably what her family was going to think as well. So I think she was probably a mixture of worry and fear and excitement. And what might have helped her to trust God, do you think? What might have helped her to trust God? Let's stop for a minute while you just maybe put your hands up and give some of your ideas to your teacher. What might have helped Mary to trust God? Okay, so I hope you've got some answers there about reasons or things that might have helped Mary to trust the angel and to trust God. And I think one of the things was probably the way that the angel spoke to her. I don't think he would have spoken in a very angry voice. I think he would have spoken in a very soft and reassuring voice. And also the message as well, even though it was scary that she was going to be the mother of the Son of God. What an incredible message. And I think there's some of the excitement might have helped her to trust God. And I think thirdly, Mary would have been a Jewish girl, and so she would have already known God, and she would have prayed to him and worshipped in the temple. So I think she would have already known something of God anyway. So I think those three things might have helped her. And right at the end of that story, there was some words that Mary said that meant that it was going to be okay, that she was going to trust God. And she said the words, "I'm God's servant. Let what you say happen to me." So shall we use that as our memory verse for today, shall we? Okay. So I'm going to bring these words up onto the screen, and like in previous weeks, I'm going to take some of the words away each time. So here we go, reading it through all together. I am God's servant. Let what you say happen to me. And taking some of the words away. I, God's servant, let you say to me. And some more. I, God's, let you to me. And one final time now, just two words left. I let very good if you're able to remember that. I am God's servant. Let what you say happen to me. In other words, Mary was trusting God. She wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, but she was able to trust that with God, everything was going to be okay. So shall we just have a time of prayer now? If we're used to putting our hands together, closing our eyes, let's do that. Dear God, thank you for the Christmas story, and for Mary, and for the angel Gabriel. Thank you that she was able to trust you, and thank you that Gabriel was able to bring your message. Help us to trust you also, and help us to listen to your messages. Amen. Okay, lovely to be with you again today. And one thing, what I'm calling a takeaway task, if you get a chance to do this in class, or maybe you could always do this at home if you don't get a chance to do it in class. You could always draw around your hand. This is my hand. So you could draw around your hand, and then what you could do is on the thumb and each of the four fingers, you could write the name of somebody that you trust. It might be a very good friend, it might be a teacher, it might be parents or grandparents, it might be brothers or sisters or aunties or uncles, and hopefully you might be able to put God or Jesus on there as well, if that's somebody that you trust as well. So write those names after you've drawn around your hand, and then across the palm of your hand, for one of those people, why don't you write why you trust them? What is it that they do that means you can trust them? So names of 5 people, and then why you trust one of them. What is it that they do that makes you trust them? So lovely to see you once again, and next week we'll get together again and we'll think about another person in that Christmas story. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week at school and at home. Take care for now. Bye bye.